In the 13th century, the castles of Wales were considered impregnable fortresses, and Chirk Castle, built by Roger Mortimer, was no exception. 700 years later, however, a siege of a different kind has finally breached our walls. We're undergoing a 21st century programme of renovation and resurfacing to ensure its survival for the next 700 years. The initial phase of this delicate operation concentrates on the south wing.
Phase 1 is the foundation phase, really, because it's got the biomass boiler and all the pipework that actually is connected to that, which will then spread out within the rest of the castle. So if they're not done now, we can't go on and do them in the other phases.
Phase 1 has been challenging because we're trying to get all the heating services, the main pipework from the new wood chip boilers, and all the electrics, all the fire cables, the alarm cables and the building management cables up through very narrow spaces. But fair play, the contractors have really worked hard, and it's really challenging in an old castle like this to get that sort of service work in.
The most important aspect of this initial phase is the installation of environmentally friendly boilers.
The Trust were looking at the carbon footprint and the energy uses and efficiency, and so we started looking at biofuels. We had two options really. One was wood chip and the other was wood pellet. And the reason we've gone for wood pellet is because although there are a lot of trees on the Chirk estate, they're veteran trees and they're not there for chipping. Also, we wanted it fairly labour-free. We didn't want people going down to the boiler house every day, having to load it up, and it's fairly automatic.
We developed a range of boilers to cope with the wood pellet. So like taking a tree, it's stripped of its bark. The natural wood is then put through, or broken up, put through a dryer and crushed to a powder or to a, say, very fine sawdust, and then reconstituted into a pellet form. It's obviously an environmentally friendlier way of heating buildings, schools and the like, which we've been doing now for near on 8 years. But these two that are going in here, that's a 300 kilowatt boiler, and the smaller one that's already in there is a 150 kilowatt boiler.
To be able to take a natural product which is indigenous to this country and use it to fire the boilers, it's the sort of thing we should be doing, the sort of thing we all should be doing really.
But there's a lot more than just environmental aspects to consider. Specialist contractors have been hired for their knowledge of working in and around historic buildings.
We're discovering hidden spaces and voids, and in fact it's actually been some of the contractors that have actually found some of the discoveries, the things that we found under floorboards that we'll actually have on display in the exhibition room. There's spaces underneath the castle at the moment that we'll actually be able to get visitors to be able to see. So meat larders, brewery rooms, sculleries, they're all there. So that should be really good for the future.
Here we're in the servants' hall, and this is one of the rooms that is affected by the current phase of the resurfacing project. And because we need contractors to come in here, we need to protect the contents because we can't remove everything. For example, big pieces of furniture like this table, and you'll see on the antlers behind me that they have tissue covering them so that if there's any dust created by the works going on in here, they will be protected. We weren't envisaging that the antlers would look a bit like a modern art exhibition. We've also been involved in protecting items in the chapel. We have a tapestry which we've protected. There's a piano and chairs and a couple of other tables.
The key element of the whole project is the building management system. It sends signals from sensors all over the castle to this box which regulates the humidity, temperature and lighting throughout the castle.
Actually knowing that we're going to be putting in the right systems to look after the objects inside the rooms and look after the rooms themselves is really good.
Where it doesn't detract from the visual and historic interest here, we will be able to put in some secondary glazing, and something that the public won't be able to see will be the solar panels on the roof. From 2009 onwards, all the hot water in the ladies and gents loos will be heated by solar energy.
For once in a lifetime, to stand in some of these staterooms empty, to enjoy the views out of windows that you're not usually able to see, to stand in a different part of a room because it's usually roped off. I think there's really exciting opportunities for people to interact in the spaces in a different way because they're empty.
One of the key strategies for the National Trust is engaging our supporters, and for a project like this there's no better way than explaining huge investments for the future longevity of great places like this.
Obviously the protection of the collection is paramount because we don't replace objects. We know that objects are going to deteriorate over time, but we try to manage that change and deterioration. So visitors will be able to see these objects for many years to come.
We're looking to the future. We're looking to carry on this evolving that this property has had because it's always been lived in. That's why the castle still exists. You know, it's not a ruin. It's been a family home for such a long time as well. And this is just another stage in its evolution.
In effect, what we're doing is breaking the castle apart and putting it back together again, and that's what future-proofing here is all about.